Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mrs. Taylor's math class. Tonight, we will be going over some more GED math sample questions. You can find in the description where I got these questions from. It's from the testguide.com, and they have a couple of practice quizzes. So I just pulled the first one, the quiz number one, and I'm showing you how they got the answers that they got. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Before I get started, if you know someone who is interested in um, taking their GED, you can send them my way, uh, pointing towards these live videos, and they can find these videos on YouTube as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first question here is a very interesting question. It says 10 people can paint a building in 5 days. If each person paints as quickly as the others, then how much of the building could 7 people paint in 5 days? So for this question here, very interesting. So we have 10 people who can paint it in 5 days. So what that means, let's take this statement here. Just this one here. This means that one person can paint the building, can paint 1/10 of the building. So one person, that's why you got 1/10. One person, so put one person can paint and put 1/10 of the building. So if one person can paint 1/10 of the building in 5 days, and make sure you put that in 5 days, then 7 people times 1/10 equals 7/10. So 7/10. So 7 people can paint the building, or not paint the building. Seven people can paint 7/10 of the building in 5 days. Let's say it like that. Okay, so this answer would be here, 7/10. Okay, let's go to the next question. For this question here, it says, how many meters are there in 21 feet? How many meters are there in 21 feet? In the first thing we see right here, it says, note, in the metric system of units, 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, and 1 meter to 1 foot is 3.25 to 1. Now, with this part right here, this whole part here, 1 meter to 100 centimeters, to me is useless information. We don't need that for this problem. But we do need this bit of information here. To me, the way they have the statement written is a bit confusing, but I do know this, that 3.25 feet is equal to 1 meter. Now, as long as I have that information right there, I could do this problem. This problem, you can set up as a proportion. You can do this the dimensional analysis way. Either way you do it, you'll come to your correct answer. So you take your 21 feet, and this is the dimensional analysis way. I can say 1 meter over 3.25 feet. And I cross that out, the feet cancel out, and so you're left with 21 meters over 3.25. When you do that in the calculator, of course, you get 6.4615 meters. Okay, that's the dimensional. That's this. What I call this is dimensional analysis. Okay, the other way is proportions. Set up proportions. So I can do 21 feet over x meters is equal to, and I can match it up, 3.25 feet over 1 meter. And here I could just cross multiply. You get 3.25x is equal to 21. And then again, you just divide both sides by 3.25. And x is equal to the same answer, 6.4615 meters. And you're done. So we have this answer here. Okay, let's keep going. For the next question, it says, what is x value such that y equals 15 minus 3x and y equals 0? So this is like a system of equations. So let's write that. And I'm giving you topics so that if you need to do more research on these topics, this is what you need to look at if you wanted more problems like this. So your system is y equals 15 minus 3x, and then y equals 0. So since both problems are y equal something, you can set them equal to each other. So 15 minus 3x is equal to 0. And you solve your problem. Let's subtract 15 from both sides of your equation. You make your 0 pair. You have 3x is equal to negative 15. Let's do our division property of equality by dividing both sides by negative 3. You have a 1 here, and so x is equal to 5. And there you have it. Next question. So it says, put 4 fractions in order from smallest to largest. So you have 1/4, 2/3, 4/7, and 1/2. So let's write them all out. 1/4, 2/3, 4/7, and 1/2. Now, a couple of ways you can do this problem. You can change them all to decimals and then put them in order and then switch them back to fractions. Or you can find a common denominator for all 4 of them, switch all the fractions to where they all have the same denominator. So you got to change the numerator and the denominator. And then you can put them in order like that and then switch them back. It's just really up to you what's your preference. I can show you, I guess, both ways. So let's do the way where we switch them to decimals. So if I switch all these to decimals, I know that this is 0.25. And again, see, I don't know the rules of GED. Are you allowed to use a calculator or not? So if you're allowed to use a calculator, I will advise switching them to decimals first. So, and then this one would be 0.66, and this is repeating. Let's put commas in between. Now, 4/7, I don't know what that is, so hold on. Let me get my calculator out. Or I probably should show you how to do it. Let's do it like this. Let's say 7, and then 4, add some decimals, and 0, add a decimal and a 0. So let's do it with 7 goes into 4 0 times. 7 goes into 40 5 times, and this would be 35. And then this would be 5, bring down the 0, and this would be 7. 7 goes into 50 7 times. Multiply 7 times 7, you get 49. And you get 1, bring this down, 0. That's going to be 1 time. And I think I'm going to stop there. And it keeps going, but I don't think I have to go that far with this. So I get 0.571. All right. So for the next one, 1/2, I already know that this is 0.5. Okay, so if I put these in order from least to greatest, then I know I could just number them since they're here. The smallest would be the 0.25, and then I have the 0.50 or the 0.5, and then we have the 0.57, and then this one here. So your final answer would be 1/4, 1/2, 4/7, and 2/3. Okay, so that would be your first answer choice. Now, let's say you didn't know this way and all you know is changing them to the same denominator. You could do it that way. It would be a bit longer, but it's possible. So I'm looking at all my denominators, and most people would be like, let's multiply all of them together. And that's probably what a lot of people would do. If I multiply 4 times 3 times 7 times 2, ooh, that's going to be a big number. I don't think I'm going to do it this way. That's going to be too long. But you could find a common denominator, or you could do it like this. You could do factors of 4, factors of 7, factors of 3, factors of 2, and you could write it all out. Not factors, but multiples. So you could have 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. You can do this. That's going to be too long for me. I ain't got time for that. But you could do this if you want to find a common denominator, but I'm not trying to do that, so I will just stick to this first way. It's worth learning. Okay, let's go to the next question. So it says, on a number line, what is the distance between -3/7 and -2/3? All right, so anytime you're trying to find a distance, you just subtract the two numbers. So let's do that. So we're going to have -3/7 minus -2/3. And if that looks funny, you could put that in parentheses. Now, what you should know or remember is that anytime you have these two symbols side by side like that, it's really like a multiplication. So you can say negative times a negative is a positive. So I could rewrite this as -3/7 plus 2/3. Now with this, I do need to find a common denominator. And my common denominator between 7 and 3 is 21. But here's how you can find it. So like I said before, you can find multiples of each one of the numbers. So this would be 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, and so on. Here we got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and we can stop because we found our common denominator, which is 21. Or we found a common denominator. This is the smallest one they have in common. They have more in common, but we have the smallest one. That's why they call it the least common denominator. Because there is more than one, but we want the smallest one. So let's switch each one. So -3/7, we're going to switch that to 21. as your denominator, and as your numerator, we're going to get negative 9. Now the 2/3, switch that to 21, multiply by 7 on the denominator and your numerator, and you get 14. So you have negative 9 over 21 plus 14 over 21, and that's going to get you 5 over 21. Now, here's what you have to know. I'm expecting you to know your integer rules. When you have negative 9 plus 14, you know how to handle that when you're working with integers. So what this means is that you just need to subtract the two numbers. So you have a negative number and a positive number that you're adding together. So you just take the two numbers, subtract them, and then whichever one has the highest absolute value, then that's the sign you take on. So 14 was positive, so the answer is going to be positive because 14 is the highest absolute value. So that's another term you probably need to look up. Absolute value. It's another vocabulary term. Okay, but anywho, the answer is 5 over 21. So let's keep going. Now, for this question here, it says an isosceles triangle has two equal sides. That's the definition. If two of the sides are 5 inches and 2 inches, what is the perimeter of the triangle? So for this triangle, for any triangle, you need to know this rule. If the sides are 5 inches and 2 inches, then the other side has to be in between. Well, let's put it like this. The other side has to be in between these two numbers. So either I'd say 5 minus 2 to get 3, and then 5 plus 2 to get 7. Okay, so the other side is either going to be, but it's going to be between 3 and 7. Okay, but because it's isosceles, we know, and this is what an isosceles triangle looks like. Okay, because it's an isosceles triangle, and what was I saying? Yeah, because it's an isosceles triangle, two of the sides have to be the same. So, is my other side going to be a 5 or a 2? But I know that my third side has to be between these two numbers, 3 and 7. So I'm not going to pick 2. I'm going to pick 5. So that means that the triangle is like this: 5, 5, and 2. So the perimeter, in order to find the perimeter, you need to add all the sides. Add all the sides together. Okay, so this would be 5 plus 5 plus 2, which is 12 inches. So that's going to be here. All right, let's keep going. Believe it or not, we're almost done for the night. Just want to do a couple of problems just to introduce some more GED sample problems to anyone who's interested in taking that exam. So let's read this one. It says the cylinder below has R equals 10 inches, and R stands for radius, and a volume of 6,283 cubic inches to the nearest cubic inch. Find the height of the cylinder to the nearest inch. So first off, let's talk about how do we find the volume of a cylinder. To find the volume of a cylinder, it is going to be V equals the area of the base times the height. So The base in this case, so capital B stands for the area of the base. What shape is the base? Now this is the base right here. The base is at the top and the bottom. And so that shape in this case, the area of the base, or the base is and right here, the base is a circle. So how do you find the area of a circle? To find the area of a circle, it is A equals pi r squared. Okay, so we need to replace this letter, capital B, with pi r squared. So that's what I'm going to do. Take the capital B and replace it with pi r squared, because that's the area of the base. So now we have this formula, V equals pi r squared times the height. And the information they gave us, they told us that the volume is 6,283. So I'm going to write that down. 6,283. And then the value of pi is 3.14. And then they said that the radius, r, is 10 inches. So we're going to say times 10 squared, and then times the height. Okay? So now let's start calculating. So far we are at 6,283 equals 3.14 times 100 times the height. Oh, hey, Tanya. Oh, you do love me. So now we have 6,283 equals 314 times the height. Divide both sides by 314. And I hope they allow you to use a calculator. And this comes out to be 20.009. And in this case, it's going to be inches. Okay, so looking at your answer choices, they say round to the nearest inch. So that means to the nearest whole number. That means to the nearest whole number. That means no decimal. So this would be 20 inches. All right, let's keep going. It says a rocket on a computer screen has a path modeled by the equation h equals negative t squared plus 3t plus 10, where t is the time in seconds and h is the height above a platform, and is in computer units. From how long the rocket takes, find how long the rocket takes to reach the platform. So for this question here, you're looking for the time. Now, let me ask y'all something. Do y'all remember the quadratic formula? Quadratic formula. This is what I would use to solve this equation, because I'm trying to find how much time it takes the rocket to reach the platform. Okay? So, this is a quadratic equation because it is t squared. The t squared gives it away. It's a quadratic. So, and then the graph would look like this. This is what the rocket looks like. This is the rocket. If this was a picture of the rocket and they talk about it's doing like this, that's what the rocket is doing. It blasts off, and then apparently it's going to hit some type of platform. Okay, so if it hits the platform, they just want to know, well, what time is it going to hit? How long does the rocket take to hit the platform? So you got to look for time. So let's do the quadratic formula. So, um, the easy way to remember it is to sing a song. You ever heard of Pop Goes the Weasel? Then you can sing the song. So it's x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's the quadratic formula right there. So you can sing that song and you'll have the quadratic formula memorized and written down at the same time. Okay? So the formula, the equation that they give us is h negative t squared plus 3t plus 10. You need to identify a, which is negative 1. That comes from here. All right, that's how we got a. And then b is the next one. So that's positive 3. Okay. And then c is going to be the constant. In this case, it is 10. So now that you have identified your letters, you can plug it into your formula. So x equals negative b, which is 3, plus a minus square root b squared, which is 3 squared, minus 4a, negative 1, c, 10, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times negative 1. So let's calculate this. We get negative 3. 3 squared is 9. And so now we have this here. Negative 4 times negative 1 is 4. Times 10 is going to be 40. So this is going to be plus 40. And then over negative 2. So let's keep going. Negative 3 plus or minus square root of 49. And then over negative 2. Now, the good thing here is that the square root of 49 is a perfect square, if you didn't know that. It is. What number can I multiply twice to get 49? I can multiply the number 7. So 7 times 7 is 49. So the square root of 49 is 7. So I get x equals negative 3 plus or minus 7 over negative 2. At this point, I'm going to make 2 equations. So I'm going to separate this. Let's separate the equation. So I'm going to have negative 3 plus 7 over negative 2. And so I can put x equals. And then x equals negative 3 minus 7 over negative 2. The first one is going to get me x equals 4 over negative 2, which is negative 2. And then the other one is going to be x equals negative 10 over negative 2, which is 5. Now, when we're talking about, thank you, LaQuasha, I see your answer, thank you. When we're talking about the values of the time, we talk about time in a positive manner. Find how long the rocket takes to hit the platform. You want the positive answer of the two. So we do have x equals negative 2, and we do have x equals 5. But when we're talking about the pop time and how long it takes, we're going to pick 5. So it's going to be 5 seconds. And there we have it. All right, let's keep going. It says in the diagram below, which line has a positive slope? So let's look at line AB. Let's do different colors. So this is line AB. And yes, I can't say it has a positive slope. This one has a 0 slope. So that's not what we want. Let's look at line AD. AD is like this, kind of. And this one has a negative slope. Alright, let's look at line AC. Line AC, there's my positive slope. And then line DB has a negative slope as well. Now, to figure out all of this stuff, if you need more help on how I knew this, that's like a whole nother lesson. I could do that later if that's a special request. But for today, we just want to know some positive slope, and it's going to be line AC. All right, let's keep going. In the diagram below, what are the coordinates of the mirror image of the point B in the x-axis? So mirror image means that you are making a reflection. So let's look at point B. Point B is here, and you want to reflect over the x-axis. This is the x-axis here, and I'm talking about this line here. This is your x-axis. So if you want to reflect over the x-axis, that means you're going to go over this line. And if you can tell, it needs to be equal distance. So B is on line 2. So the reflected image needs to be 2 units away from the yellow line as well. So it's going to be over here on this point, which is 2 units away from the yellow line. And that ordered pair is 3 and -2. So it is going to be here. That's your answer. Okay, so that's all I have for this evening. I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in tonight to Mrs. Taylor's math class for another night of Monday Night Math. I will be back next Monday, probably with more GED problems. So if you know anyone who is interested in getting their GED, tell them I'll be here next Monday doing some more questions. So I don't have anything else for tonight. So ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.